Hi guys, today we're going to be subtracting integers. So your objective is to subtract integers using KCO, and this is page 26. Alright, so what is the rule for subtracting? Well, the first step is that you're going to add the opposite. Well, what does that mean? Well, that's why I'm using the little acronym KCO. This stands for, write this with me, keep, change, opposite. It was kind of like when we divided fractions, we did KCF, keep, change, flip. With subtracting integers, you're going to do KCO, keep, change, opposite. So then after you do that, you'll follow addition rules. So let me walk you through what that looks like. So we have -4 minus 2. Well, I'm going to write KCO above each part. Now, what do? The first thing I'm going to do is keep the -4. Then I'm going to change the minus sign to a plus. Change. And then the second number, I'm going to turn it into its opposite. What's the opposite of 2? -2. Now that I've added the opposite or done KCO, I'm going to follow addition rules. So let's think back to our song. These are the same signs. So same signs add. So 4 plus 2 is 6. And the song also says, same sign, keep the sign. So I'm going to keep the negative. So the answer to this would be -6. So it's very similar to adding integers. The only thing is you have to do KCO, keep, change, opposite first, and then you treat it like adding integers. Okay? And why are we adding the opposite? Well, if I take away 2, I'm taking away a positive, so it's going more negative. So that's the same thing as adding a negative number. And looking at this case, if I do KCO, I keep the 3, I change the minus to a plus, and I make 7 into -7, okay? So I've done KCO, I added the opposite, and now I'm going to follow the addition rules. So now I see different signs. Different signs subtract. So 7 and 3, well 7 minus 3 is 4. And when I look at this, which one has a larger absolute value? Well, this one does, because that would be 7. So I'm going to keep the negative sign, so the answer would be -4. Now, when you're adding the opposite, let's say you have a negative number, when you add the opposite, all of a sudden you're adding a positive. Well, why are you doing that? If I take away a negative, it's like maybe you owe me $5. If I'm like, you know what, you don't need to worry about that, you don't owe me that money anymore. Well, you just went from owing a negative, now you're taking that negative away, so you just went more positive. So that's why subtracting a negative is actually like adding a positive. And we're going to see some examples of that. Okay, so we're going to, again, use a model. We're going to show some pictures to help us understand this. Now, the only key thing that you have to make sure you do before you draw your model is you have to add the opposite, or in other words, do KCO, before you draw your picture. Because you're only going to want to draw your picture with an addition problem. So we first need to do KCO and turn this into an addition problem. Okay, so KCO, I keep the 9, I change the minus to a plus, and I turn -8 into +8. Again, I'm taking away a negative, so it's like you're adding a positive. I'm saying you no longer owe me that money. So that's a good thing for you. Okay, so now I can draw a picture to go with this. I would have 9 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Put the positive sign on the inside. Then I have 8 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now you can see they're all positive, so I don't have anything to cancel out. So I just put them all together. How many is that? Well, 9 plus 8 is 17. All right, go ahead and try that. Start by doing KCO. All right, KCO, keep, change, opposite. The opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. Okay, so now I can draw a picture. I have negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're negative, so make your negative sign. Then I have a positive 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Positive sign. Well, now I have negatives and positives, different signs, so I can cross out, make some pairs and cross them out. So I have 2 negatives and 2 positives, so I'm going to cross those out. 2 negatives and 2 positives, cross those out, and then 1 negative and just 1 of the positives. Well, now you can see I have these 2 left over, and they're positive. So my answer would be positive 2. Okay? Different signs subtract, which would be 2. Sign of the larger, it's positive, so positive 2. All right, number line. Same thing as up here. You have to do KCO first, and then you can look at the number line and use that to help you. So again, we're gonna label our number line. So we're gonna put 0 all the way over here. And we'll just go to maybe about -8. This would be -4. Make 3 marks in between. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. -5, -6, -7. Okay, so I want to start by doing KCO. KCO. Okay, so I keep the -5. I change the minus to a plus, and I turn 1 into its opposite of -1. So you can see they're both negatives, which is why I drew my number line just on the negative side. Okay, so now let's draw a picture to go with this. Where do I start? I'm going to start at 0. So the first number says -5, so from 0, you're going to go back 5, or left 5. And I ended right here, and I'm going to label that -5. Okay, now it says -1. Remember, I start from wherever I left off, and I go back 1. Label that -1. And then my answer is where I landed. So let's look. I landed at -6, which makes sense because look, same signs, add, and keep the sign. Okay, now let's try this one. Again, the first thing we need to do is KCO. KCO, keep, change, the opposite of 10 is -10. All right, now I have positives and negatives. I can see I start by going positive, so I know I need 0 not on one of the sides, because I'm going to probably start 0 somewhere around here, so I'll be able to go 4 positive. But then my next number is negative, and it's larger, so I'm going to have to go back quite a way. So 0 is going to need to be somewhere near the middle. I'm just going to put it slightly more to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then probably go back maybe 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Okay. So first I have 4, so starting at 0, don't forget to start at 0, I go 4, and I'm going to go to the right because it's positive. And label that 4. Here's where I left off. Now, from there, it says -10, which means I need to go backwards, and I need to go 10 spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Label that -10. And remember, your answer is wherever you land at the very end. So I land right here. So my answer is -6. Again, let's look at the rules and make sure that makes sense. Well, I have different signs, so I subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6. And then I take the sign of the larger. Well, 10 has a larger absolute value, so I keep the negative sign. So it would be -6. All right, go ahead and you can pause the video and try to do these 3 examples on your own, and then we'll go over them. Okay, now that you've had time to practice on your own, let's see how you did. First, we need to remember to do KCO. Remember, you're only going to do keep, change, opposite when it starts as a subtraction problem. So, I keep negative 11, I change the minus to a plus, and I make 4 into its opposite, which would be negative 4. Now, I follow the rules. Well, the song says, same signs, add. So 11 plus 4 is 15, and same sign, keep the sign, so negative 15. All right, next one. Again, start by doing KCO. Keep, change, opposite. Well, now I have different signs. Different signs, subtract. Okay, so I'm not going to like change this into a subtraction. I just am subtracting the two values in my head. So 8 and 2. If I subtract those in my head, that'd be a difference of 6. Remember, you're subtracting the absolute values. Okay, so then different sign subtract, and then keep the sign of the larger. Well, 8 has a larger absolute value, so it's going to be a positive 6. All right. Now I've got to worry about order of operations because I have subtraction and addition. But remember, when you have subtraction and addition, you just go left to right. So I'm going to start by just looking at 1 minus 4. So because it starts as subtraction, I need to do KCO. So I keep the 1, I make the minus into a plus, and I turn 4 into negative 4. So now I need to solve that. Well, they're different signs. So different signs, subtract, and keep the sign of the larger. 4 is the larger absolute value, so I keep the negative sign. Okay, then this goes away, and I need to still bring this down. So plus negative 3, I bring down. Well, now I have addition. I don't have subtraction, so I do not need to do KCO. I just need to follow the song. Same signs, add. So 3 plus 3 is 6. And same sign, keep the sign. So it's going to be negative 6. So your final answer should be negative 6. All right, guys. Keep practicing. See you next time.